We're live. We're live, guys. We're live. I just got through telling AJ, I said, we're in a fucking bar, so whatever time we start, right?
That's why you can't get your producer drunk at 10 in the morning, man.
That's right.
Shit doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're just off your game. And I think we're off ours too. But I am DC, your host of Barside Jive, and this is...
I'm AJ.
AJ. Is AJ in frame?
Yep.
Yeah. And...
Scoot on over.
And...
AJ. Here we go. Check it out.
Get close. And we are on the air and live at AJ's on Main Street in historic downtown Grapevine, Texas, the Christmas capital of the world, right?
Absolutely.
Is it still the world? They didn't scale it down because of COVID.
No,
Yeah.
we're not scaling nothing down.
Okay, cool. Because we got lights and stuff everywhere outside. Christmas music nonstop.
Yeah.
Same old songs over and over and over again.
A fucking hippopotamus song.
Oh yeah, isn't it nice?
I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only a hippopotamus will do.
Oh yeah. They just need to turn it up, play a little louder. AJ's, like most bars, are fun places to hang out. That's why we do this in a bar. Well, this is not the only reason we do it in a bar, because we like to drink. But remember, guys, bars are important because they are about the only place where we are only one drink away from bringing up shit from 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right? And we will dwell on it. So, some of you know what we're talking about. Some cool things here about Grapevine. Well, one of the coolest things is that we're in the shadow of the wings of the immortal winged horse named Believe. Out there. That's Believe. We are so glad you're here and hope that you remember to tell somebody. You got to call anybody. Maybe you told a friend, a mere acquaintance, or even a stranger to join us too. I mean, think about it, guys. You can even use this show, Barside Jive, to help you break the ice with the IRS auditor you'll be seeing this coming tax season. So remember, it's the holiday season, time for sharing, so share Barside Jive. Remember that this show happens roughly, we are in a bar. What time are we starting anyway?
25 after.
25 after. Well, that's better than 30 minutes after. Like I said, we are in a bar, and there is alcohol here, and we're on from noon P to whenever we get done Central Time every Monday. My featured guest today is of rock royalty, legendary drummer Carmine Appice of Vanilla Fudge, Cactus, King Cobra, Rod Stewart, and Jeff Beck. And speaking of good things going on in Grapevine right now, with all the Christmas festivities and being at AJ's, I'm enjoying a cold glass of Southern Wheat. AJ, right?
In a Sierra Nevada glass.
In a Sierra Nevada glass, because it doesn't matter. A Belgian-style pale ale made by Carbach Brewing Company, I believe in Houston, Texas, your birthplace. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are you drinking, AJ?
Today I'm drinking Allstott. It's from Fredericksburg, Texas, and it is a amber.
Amber, is it in the proper glass?
It is not. It is in a...
And he owns the bar. It don't matter. It could say Schlitz for all we care. Well, no, we would care if it said Schlitz. But anyway, guys, there's a couple of things I want to tell you about AJ's beside his great selection of craft beers. He's got the best enormous beef ribs and fried smoked beef bologna, right, AJ?
Ooh,
Tell us about how you do that.
I put a real good smoke on it. We trim it up a little bit, give it some shape, and cut a thick slice off.
Thick slice.
And then we pop it on the grill, give it a good burn, and throw some pickle relish and a little bit of mustard.
Oh, man.
Man, I hate that you're closed on Mondays.
Yeah, I know. That sucks. And it's to die for, guys. Well, in addition to my guest segment, which comes later in the show, I've got some news, some weather, an occasional traffic report, some sports, some music, midget wrestling, and content loaded with entertainment value just for you guys. So stick around because you do not want to miss this. And I might remind you that it's lunchtime here, at least in most of the United States. So If you want to call in and tell me what you're having for lunch, maybe we'll answer, maybe we won't, but you can still try. Our number is 469-844-1631. Already getting calls in. Go ahead and take a message. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Just search Barside Jive Live at youtube.com and click subscribe. And then click that little bitty bell to receive notifications when I post my premium content, which is free to all of you just because you're special and we like you. Aww. And now a word from Axe.
Welcome home.
Mom, Dad, this is Cindy.
Cindy, yes.
So nice to meet both of you.
Nice to meet you finally. Travis has told us so much about it.
All good things, I hope.
Yes, of course.
Good.
Please,
Thank
welcome.
you.
Oh, Mom, no.
Dad, this is Shannon.
Oh, hi.
Shannon?
And this is Aaron.
Hey, cutie.
That is Jessica. Jenny, Sarah, Megan,
Hi.
Nicole, Elizabeth.
Okay, guys, we are back. Our top news story straight in from the Barside Jive news desk.
Whoosh, bum, 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 bum.
And our top news story just in from the Barside Jive news desk. Oh, man. Let's see. Yeah, our news story is Cannibal Cow put to death in Wisconsin after it killed and ate 7 other bovines, AJ. That is one sick cow. Don't cook that one. The Wisconsin Food Safety and Inspection Service, the FSIS, proceeded to the state's first bovine execution in over 60 years this morning, putting to death a 5-year-old cow by the lethal injection, by the way, for killing and partially devouring 7 of her congenerates.
What?
Have you ever called anyone a congenerate? No, not yet. Now we will. We're going to start using that word. FSIS agents showed up this morning at the Greenfellow Dairy Farm near Chilton to pick up the condemned animal. The massive bovine was tranquilized by the agents and transported to a slaughterhouse to be properly executed. The 5-year-old cow, named Angel, that cow's just straining, right?
Dude, this cow looks mean.
Oh, it is mean. Was caught in the act by a farm employee while devouring its last victim earlier this month, putting an end to a 16-month investigation on cattle death on the farm. The farm's owner, Ray Middleton, well, Mr. Middleton said, "I thought for a long time that my animals were being slaughtered by wolves or even a puma. It's scary to think one of my cows was a cannibal." Mr. Middleton says his employees had grown afraid of entering the stables and milking the cows. Mr. Middleton went on to say it almost entirely devoured half a dozen 1,200-pound animals. We never approached it without a shotgun in hand. Now we can finally breathe. Ray Middleton was relieved to see the predatory bovine taken away as he feared for the safety of his animals and employees. Bovine cannibalism is a very old but extremely rare phenomenon, AJ. Antique Greek and Roman documents relate cases of cannibal cattle, and similar cases are reported in the medieval chronicles. In some cases, the animals were reported eating human beings. Fortunately, this type of carnivorous behavior is extremely rare in bovines. The last reported case in the United States was in 1986 in North Dakota when a bull allegedly killed 17 cows, 11 goats, and 2 dogs. And a new monolith has mysteriously popped up in Romania. Officials are investigating after a similar structure vanished in Utah. You're familiar with this story, aren't you? Oh, well, hey, let me enlighten you, AJ. Officials have launched an investigation into the strange appearance of a metallic monolith. this time in Romania. That's similar to the one in Utah, if you knew about the one in Utah. I believe we have a photo. But that one vanished, the one in Utah. So it was there, and it's not there now. One Romanian outlet reported Monday that the latest structure has also vanished, but that could not be immediately confirmed. The Romanian monolith, which has been described as a near twin of the Utah version, was found on, this is your word, it's your turn.
Botka Domani Hill,
Very good, AJ. In the city of
Piatra Neamț, in northeastern Romania.
on November 26, according to AJ, and a number of press reports supported by photos and videos. The 13-foot structure was made of dark metal and covered in what looked like a series of scribbled circles. It appeared close to the ancient remains of the Petrodava Dacian fortress, a battlement believed to have been destroyed by the Romans in the 2nd century. We have started looking into the strange appearance of the monolith. Roxana Josnu,
Yeah, I may know.
yeah, of the Nympt culture
Nympt.
and Nympt
Yep.
and Heritage Department told Euro Weekly on Monday. It is on private property, but we still don't know who the monolith's owner is yet. It is a protected area on an archaeological site, she added. Before installing something there, they really needed permission from our institution, one that must be approved by the Ministry of Culture. A little culture never hurt anyone, did it? We got that cow back. The Romanian and Utah structures eerily resemble the giant monolith in Stanley Kubrick's classic science fiction movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, raising some observers' hopes that space aliens are visiting. There should be no monkeying around when it comes to those monoliths. But others do believe that they're elaborate art exhibits. Managers of a gallery for late artist and sci-fi enthusiast John McCracken believe he may have placed the Utah structure. They tweeted an image of a similar exhibit by the artist for comparison. Biologists spotted the Utah monolith from a helicopter on November 18th while working for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. They had been counting bighorn sheep in the Red Rock area of southeastern Utah, but internet sleuths using historical images with the help of Google Earth discovered that the monolith had appeared on the spot sometime between August 15 and October 2016, CNET reported. The futuristic TV series Westworld was being filmed nearby at the time, CNET noted, which could be another clue as to its source. We're almost done. The Utah monolith suddenly vanished last Friday. The Bureau of Land Management noted that the illegally installed structure was removed by an unknown party and not by department personnel. Black Lives Matter does deny the removing of the structure. In other news, current news, in case you missed it, Black Sabbath Breaking the Band, which focuses on Black Sabbath's huge success and subsequent downfall, because all things that go up gotta come down, right? Premiered a week ago. Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific on Reels. With its mischievous and prankster lead singer Ozzy Osbourne juxtaposed against the business-minded and reserved band founder Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath was at its core a volatile mix. And on some bad management, grueling touring demands, and heavy drug use, and you get a band that reached its breaking point sooner than later. Often called the godfathers of heavy metal music, Black Sabbath came from humble origins to become some of the most successful and outrageous of rock stars. Their hedonism and antics on stage were unparalleled, as was their volatility off the stage. Black Sabbath was formed in '68 by guitarist Tony Iommi. Drummer Bill Ward, bassist Geezer Butler, and vocalist Ozzy Osbourne. The Flicks follows their journey from the band's early beginning in Birmingham, England, to heavy metal infamy and their eventual breakup. Combining rare behind-the-scenes footage and stylized dramatic reconstructions for moments the cameras missed, extensive archive and revealing interviews see the turbulent history of a band that battled with egos, crippling drug and alcohol addictions, and music business mobsters who almost robbed them of everything they had. Neil Peart's Rush drum kit, used from 1974 to 1977, sells for $500,000. Toward the end of November, a drum kit used by late Rush drummer Neil Peart in the studio and on tour from 1974 to '77 was listed for auction. There's Neil's kit. With expectations of the kit selling from somewhere between 80,000 and 120,000, that estimation has been shattered. Wow. Shattered. As the drummer's hardware was sold for just $500,000, $500,312 to be exact. The Chrome Slingerland was first acquired by Peart somewhere between late July and early August of 1974 before his first show as a member of Rush on August 14th of that year. Peart was brought in as the replacement for John Rutsey, who was the group's original drummer and starred on Rush's eponymous debut, making it the only album to feature anyone outside of the enduring lineup of Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Peart. Man, sometimes these words they give me, they're tough. They're big time tough. But Peart did use the drum set on the studio albums Fly By Night, Caress of Steel, and 2112, as well as All the World's a Stage live record, before placing it in storage in 1977. A decade later, the Rush drummer donated the prize kit for a modern drummer giveaway. Winner Mark Feldman later sold the kit to the present owner, who put it up for auction through Bonham's auction house. Earlier this year, on January 10th, Peart, who also served as a chief lyricist in Rush, died at the age of 67. R.I.P. Neil. In total, he played on 18 of Rush's 19 studio albums, the last being 2012's Clockwork Angels. As the band embarked on their R40 40th anniversary tour, it was rumored to be their last, as Peart had expressed a desire to retire, which he made good on in 2015, announcing, "There comes a time to take yourself out of the game." How about some old news? Like back in 1968, Tommy James and the Shondells, released Crimson and Clover. You know that tune, right?
I wasn't even born yet.
Oh, but you know Crimson and Clover. Yeah, you know it. Shut up. On this day in 1972, Ringo Starr, the Ringo Starr of the Beatles.
I was 3.
He had a film about English rocker Mark Bolan. Mark Bolan is badass. Born to Boogie debuted in London. Born to Boogie is a 1972 British concert film about a concert at the Empire Pool starring T-Rex, Mark Bolan, Ringo Starr, and Sir Elton John. Directed by Starr himself, the movie was released on the Beatles' Apple Films label. Well, that's it for old news, and the new news, so how about our PSA on COVID-19 prevention? Is on its way, and we have an exclusive photo of one of the early trial participants. He feels fine. He is feeling fine. He's not looking very good, but he is feeling fine. Okay, guys, and there you have it. Let's do some sports.
I'm screwing this all up.
It's a stupid idea. You guys got a technique today? No, they're full hard. Other than that, nah. Just kidding. It's not going to be this thing. No. No. A little bit. Not going to lie on that one. Now, what are you going to do with the cheese if you win?
I don't know, I don't even like cheese. I don't know, give it to someone, I don't know. My mum.
We're going to choose a line, maybe get out wide, start. My theory is I've got long legs. So I'm just going to try and stride as long as I possibly can and take it to stone my feet.
Blood on this bloke, check it out.
Oh my God, look at this
So guys, nothing wrong with a little cheese rolling. I mean, you're not watching football anyway, so yeah, kind of look like fun.
So I don't get it. Do they roll the cheese down the hill and then you
Yeah,
chase it?
the cheese starts first. I'm fixing to tell you about it.
Oh, my bad.
So that, my friends, was the Cooper's Hill Cheese Rolling and Wake. It's an annual event held at Cooper's Hill near Gloucester in England. I guess you got to live in Gloucester to really appreciate it. But as you saw, participants raced down a 200-yard long hill after a round, it's like round this big, of double Gloucester cheese, which is rolling out of control at speeds of up to 70 miles per hour. The event was traditionally held by people who live in the local village of Brockworth, but now people from all over the world take part. It's been called a world-famous event with winners coming from Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Nepal. Speaking of cheese, I didn't say cheesy. I said speaking of cheese, what beverage pairs well with cheese? Wine. Wine, of course, pairs well with cheese. And now a word from Foghat Cellars.
One night, Joe had a real good time. You drink your whiskey, I drink my red wine.
Hi DC, thanks for having us on your show. And for you folks, I'm Roger of the band Foghat, and these are our wines. Foghat Cellars. This is a Chardonnay from Monterey County, absolutely delicious, 2014. We have 2013 Pinot Noir from Monterey County. It's absolutely fabulous, a wonderful drinking wine. If you like Pinots, you'll love it. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. All our wines come from Central Coast of California. Steve Rasmussen is our winemaker. though in fact myself and Linda actually get involved in the making of some of our wines. Drink, enjoy, go to foghatcellars.com to find out how to get them. Thanks, bye.
There is a little bit of a downside to having a show in a bar. Do not allow your production team to drink on the job. But guys, if you will use the coupon code Barside Jive on the checkout screen, you will get 20% off your purchase. So get your bottle today, or spend a few dollars more for a bottle autographed by the legendary Roger Earl, drummer of Foghat. Okay, it's time for some weather. From your Barside Jive Global Weather Center, where we try to stick to the current weather since forecasts are always so wrong, including ours. Here we go. Local AJ's weather is currently sunny. It's about 30-something degrees. Today's high is probably 40-something degrees. Air quality seems to be okay. Wind is out of the north at about 10 miles an hour at times. Humidity's got to be pretty low, and I don't think there's a chance of rain at all. So let's go to Cassandra from our Weather Center in Wales to get a closer look at weather conditions on one of their beautiful beaches.
I'm here at Barry Island Beach, and there's no sign of the storm.
Did you see the size of that fish? God, slapped her down. Wow. Thanks, Cassandra. And that's your global weather from your Barside Jive meteorologist, kinda. Here at Barside Jive, our weather is brought to you by...
Just one lemon left.
Lemon Skittles are my favorite.
They're my favorite.
Let's settle it the usual way.
Settle it the usual way! Settle it the usual way! Settle the usual way! Settle it! Settle it the usual way! Settle it the usual way! Settle it! Woo! Let's settle it the usual way!
Lemon is my favorite. And I'm a lefty.
Settle the rainbow. Taste the rainbow.
Wow, the usual way. Well, the usual way around here is that AJ bails on me about midway through the beginning of this show, but that's okay. I've got my hand in the seat. We'll keep it warm. Seeing how Christmas is fast approaching and a lot of you have that deer in the headlights look because you're not sure what to buy that special someone in your life, I, DC, am here to help. Your wait is totally over, guys. It's time for my Badass Gift Guide 2020.
Merry Christmas.
Here are some last-minute gift ideas for the rock and metal heads in your life, or just ordinary people. From albums to limited edition band merch, there were a ton of special releases this year, and they're guaranteed to bring more than just holiday cheer to die-hard rock and roll fans. AC/DC came out with a special version of their new album, Power Up, which comes in a chargeable box that lights up and plays the lead single Shot in the Dark when activated. Aside from band-specific gifts, I've also compiled some household items, such as a Fender cutting board that your music lovers will appreciate. I'll provide links in the description below. All right, gift number 1. We've got AC/DC's Power Up Deluxe Edition, $44 from Amazon. Don't buy it from me. I've already got it. Okay. Number 2 is Me and the Mob and Music by Tommy James. Great book. I've read it. $17 at Amazon. Black Sabbath Paranoid 50th Anniversary Edition. $92 to $137. You can get it at Amazon. Rust in Peace, the inside story of the Megadeth masterpiece Dave Mustaine. $17. Buy it on Amazon. Pantera Reinventing the Steel 20th Anniversary Edition. $24. Available at Amazon. Vinyl Record Bowl Set. Yeah, these are cool. $25. You can buy them. I know you'll be surprised, but they're on Amazon. Stick It, My Life of Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll. Carmine Appice, $17. It is a great read. You can buy it on Amazon. Eddie Van Halen, Pattern Pop Socket. It's our gift number 8. Available for $15 on Amazon. Fender Stratocaster Cutting Board. I gotta have this. $30. You can buy it on Amazon. It's just too cool. And, oh, this is a good one. Smartphone Guitar Capo. I had to search high and low for this one. Smartphone Guitar Capo. It's really cool. $24. It's available on Amazon. Metallica Blackened Whiskey Sonically Enhanced by S&M2. $40 to $60 a bottle. You can get from Blackened Whiskey. Shocked that he can't get it at Amazon? And now for the man who has everything except clean equipment. Manscaped Crop Essentials. Male Care Hygiene Bundle. Includes invigorating body wash, moisturizing ball deodorant, high-performance body toner, and disposable shaving mats for $30.99 available on Amazon. Manazon. One Count Nag Note sticky notes also serves as a honeydew list. You can get these sticky notes. They're 3 by 3 inches, available for $4.75 a pad from Amazon. And what do you say we take a quick look at traffic? Here we go, guys. Yeah, there you go. Beep, 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 yeah. Beep, 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 yeah. Beep, 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 yeah. It may be fine here on Main Street in Grapevine, but let's go to Jennifer York and our Skycam for a closer look at La La Land. You guessed it, Los Angeles, California, where the Angels have flown the coop in what used to be the City of Angels. Hey, Jennifer, you guys spend long hours flying around the city. What do you do for fun?
Some fun things that we do is we peek into people's backyards, and if they're really dirty and filthy, I mean, people collect a lot of junk. We'll zoom in with our Westcam, and we can get really close. I mean, we can see the colors of a baby's bottle in a backyard. We can see the color of someone's underwear hanging on a line.
It smells.
And hey, don't take the 101, it's really heavy. Stick with the Golden State to get into downtown. Bye.
Thanks, Jennifer. That'll bring us up to our featured guest segment. Our featured guest segment is sponsored by Hip and Hippie, a planet-loving company known for its high-quality, earth-friendly, 100% recyclable candle line and natural body care products. It's no wonder eco-supporting people love Hip and Hippie. hipandhippie.com. Guys, did you have anything?
I got nothing.
Did you want to offer anything up before we go to our guest? Okay. Okay, guys, we'll be right back after this quick break with the legendary drummer Carmine Appice of Vanilla Fudge, Cactus, King Cobra, Rod Stewart, and Jeff Beck. His bio reads like a who's who of rock and roll. So let's welcome Carmine Appice to Barside Jive. Hey, Carmine.
Hey, dude, how you doing?
Dude, it's good to have you
You're
back.
in the bar. You're in the bar, huh?
I am in the bar. I've got a nice Carbach Brewing Company blonde out of Houston, Texas.
Oh, nice. I just got a nice water. I'm in my studio. There's my, oh, hold on. There's my drums, if you can see them over there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, and this
Absolutely.
is the rest of the studio. There's some of the artwork I've done up there.
Oh, that's
drum,
nice.
Drum head, and that's Drum City over there. And there's my proclamation from Los Angeles, and I got all the gold records there. I got a letter from Fred Astaire right over there, you know, and my idol buddy Rich. And, yeah, so this is the guest house in this house we bought in Florida, and I turned it into my studio, and I have a little gym area too that I can work out in, you know.
Oh, very cool.
And then I have a lake behind. Can you see the lake?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I got grass behind and palm trees. I love it here. I love this.
Is that your man cave?
Yep, I come in here and work, and I'm working on an instrumental album with a kid named Fernando Perdomo, who's somewhat unknown, but he was turned on to me by Tom Dowd, the great producer's family. And Tom was working with this kid before he died. And they called me and said, the kid wants to work with you on some level. So I just put the studio in here. My brother Vinny built the computer for me and set the studio up. And I didn't know how to run it at all, you know. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to work with somebody,
right?
You know, and learn how to run it. So we're like 10 tracks deep now into this album.
Wow. Awesome.
And we mixed them, and I've done stuff with my brother in here. I did the modern drummer thing. Tomorrow we're doing 2 days of video shoots for all my drum books are getting re-released. We're doing 3-minute videos for Amazon and different promotional things. So that's why I got the black, there's a black screen behind me. Behind the black screen are all the gold and platinum records, you know.
Right.
But I figured if they want to insert, you know, some logos, you can't do it over the gold and platinum records.
Right.
This black curtain, you know, so they can do what they want to do when we're editing. But,
right.
But I love it, you know. I just love doing all this stuff. So working with that kid and doing other little odds and ends, I learned how to work my studio, you know. And I got a nasty drum sound coming out of here.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm gonna be working with Freddie Salem from the Outlaws.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good friend, and we talked the other day. I told him I got the studio, so he said, "Man, we got to do something together." So we're gonna talk later about scheduling something.
Let's talk about Vanilla Fudge for a minute, because you guys were innovative, groundbreaking, trailblazing, and Carmine, on top of all that, you are rock royalty. And
oh, thank you.
And Carol says that you're just awesome, and I believe everything Carol says.
Oh yeah, Carol's awesome.
Yeah, she is, isn't she? She is a doll.
Carol Ross. We're talking about Carol Ross, who's a master PR person that I worked with in the '80s when she was with Kiss. She did all that great PR for Kiss all through like the late '70s and '80s. And now she manages Tommy James, and I still work with her. When I released my book, she did my PR for my book.
Right.
She's awesome.
She's an awesome lady. Well,
yeah.
she's been very supportive of what I've done here, and I appreciate her. But I want to say that as a drummer for Vanilla Fudge, you set the grooves for the groundbreaking band's 67 psychedelic debut. There was no one that came before you. There was no precedent. That band was totally unique. No rock group up to that point had ever stretched out well-known pop tunes like the Beatles' Eleanor Rigby or Ticket to Ride, and most famously, the Supremes' Motown classic, You Keep Me Hanging On, and took them into that world of psychedelia. So tell me, what were you guys thinking?
Well, believe it or not, that really stemmed off of the Rascals. The Rascals were like the big band in New York City at that time. And a group called the Vagrants that had Leslie West in it were doing like a rendition of the Rascals. With, they had a 5-piece band instead of, the Rascals had no bass, So they had a 5-piece band. They had Leslie, who was a great guitarist and a great singer.
Oh, yeah.
But they also had another singer, but they had these things called production numbers, which they would slow down songs and stretch them out. And that's where the idea came from. And I was in another band at the time, and Mark Stein and Tim Bogert came to a club where I was, and they asked me to join their group, which was called the Pigeons at the time, because they wanted to get into this realm of music that was going on in Long Island at the time. But the drummer they had would technically didn't have the chops, or he didn't sing. So I joined them, and we started doing these arrangements. And the thing we had over everybody else is we had 4 vocals, right? And our musicianship were better all around. I mean, the Vagrants had Leslie West,
right?
But the rest of the band was just okay,
right?
We had Mark Stein, who was a monster keyboard player, a great, phenomenal singer. Tim Bogert, who nobody played bass like Tim Bogert, great singer. And Vince Martell was a really good guitar player. Not as good as Leslie per se, but really good, and he sang really well. He had me, who I was technically on top of everything right at that point, and I sang.
Right.
So we had 4 vocals and all that, but we did things a little different. We thought, we checked the lyrics out, and we took the lyrics and matched it up with the emotion of the lyrics to the music. Like You Keep Me Hanging On was like, set me free, why don't you? But it was like a happy song.
Right.
But it wasn't happy lyrics.
Right.
So we took those lyrics and emotionally transformed them into a slowed down, emotional version of the song where you can really feel the lyrics in the vocal. And then we made all these psychedelic intros and outros and stuff. Same with Eleanor Rigby. Eleanor Rigby talking about a churchyard and a lonely person living in a church. So we created like an eerie kind of vibe for that.
Right.
People get ready.
Right.
It's like a gospel thing. So we made it like a gospel thing, an organ and a vocal, big, choir, gospel choir backgrounds and building up to the end. Ticket to Ride, slow down, same kind of thing, same thing. And the Beatles sang, it was really happy. We made it depressing and psychedelic.
Right.
But that was what we did. But we all know, we noticed when we were playing clubs, when we play normal songs like Ain't Too Proud to Beg, where we just played it normally, and we played You Keep It Hanging On, and people got ready, and Eleanor Rigby, people would come along the front of the stage and stop dancing and watch us, because we were very animated, out there twirling sticks and all this kind of stuff like an octopus, and Mark Stein's waving his hands around, and Tim looked like a spastic, maniac, and Vin, same thing, and none of the other bands did that.
Right.
Most stood there. So we noticed that when we did certain songs that have that emotion in it, people would gather around the stage. So then, especially for Hanging On, and then we did a demo of Hanging On, 1 take mono, 7.5 minutes to change my life. Right? And that became the single, and that's what started the ball rolling.
Wow. you guys were amazing artists, and your creativity level was like through the roof. So
I was through the roof.
It can't get more cooler than what you guys were doing.
We were cool. I mean, when we played England at the Speakeasy, everybody was there, from Jeff Beck, Yardbirds, Beatles, The Who, anybody who was anyone. Traffic, Stevie Winwood, Jim Capaldi, Keith Moon, all those guys were there. And it was amazing because we were so crazy. George Harrison used to carry that first album around with him to parties,
Wow.
And I kind of heard the rumor, and I confirmed it with Paul McCartney when I was with Rod Stewart. Paul came to our gigs, and I said, Paul, I got to ask you this. And I asked him. He said, oh man, he was championed your album. He said he carried that album everywhere he went in London to all the parties. He put it on the record player himself.
Wow.
So that was like,
that's huge.
Wow. And then back in those days, you used to have the Billboard Awards. Like now they have them on TV. They had them on TV, big deal. Back in then, they used to have it in the magazine, one page. And one year, I think it was 1968 or 69, the Beatles won for vocal group, or 68, I think it was. The Beatles won for vocal group #1, and we were #2.
Wow.
Right? Now, had that been on the big TV, we would have been, seeing us in the audience with tuxedos,
Yeah, right.
Shame, but that was the beginning of it all then. It wasn't a business yet,
Yeah. I've read up on you a little bit, and I was a big fan of the Fudge, but I was also a big fan of Jimi Hendrix, and I know you've hung out with him a little bit. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, you hung out a lot. I mean, I hung out with Jimmy before he was Jimi Hendrix. When I was playing in that other band that I told you about, where I was discovered with Mark and Tim, it was called Thursday's Children, and we had a lead singer named Dean Parrish who ended up having some hit records, especially in England. And so we played this place called the Lighthouse, which was at Broadway and 77th Street on the west side. It was back in those days. Remember that movie Panic in Needle Park?
Yeah, yeah.
With Al Pacino, his first movie. He was a druggie, and there was hookers and all kinds of dealers and stuff. That's where it was. It was like that. So we played there, and we played half hour, and then Jimmy James and the Vagabonds would play a half hour. And then about 12 o'clock at night, it'd be like an hour's worth of a guy playing records, and gives both bands a break. Because we used to play till 4 in the morning over there, And we come back at 1, and we go on from 1:30, and they go on 1:30 to 2, and 2 to 3:30,
Wow.
Sometimes we get off early if there was no crowd, but it was usually from 9 to 4 was the hours of those club gigs. So on that 1 hour break, which we played probably a whole week with Jimmy doing that. And a couple of times we just hang out, but one time I specifically remember was going up to a black prostitute's apartment, smoking a joint, looking out over Broadway. And Jimmy said, one day I'm going to make it, And I said, oh, cool. For me, I just wanted to play clubs. I had a drum teacher that made a living playing drums.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
I don't care if I made it. Making records at that point in my life was like the furthest thing from my mind. I had no connections with records. I didn't care about making it. I just wanted to play and make a living. I was making $300 or $400 a week back in 1964, 65. I mean, that was decent money, and I was good. I was 18 years old. I had a brand new 64 Chevy Super Sport I bought myself, playing money, from playing. I built it up. I had racing cams in it, and I used to race it and stuff, I lived with my folks. I was fine,
Right.
And Jimmy was talking about making it. So I said, yeah, good. Then I would go back to playing, and then, the time passes, and we made it with the Fudge. And I see this article. It says, this great new guitar player, Jimi Hendrix, playing with a picture of him playing with his teeth. And he did that in the clubs. And he was always flamboyant looking, except he has his hair slicked back. So I see him with the electric hair. Right. And I said, oh my God, this looks like Jimmy James. And sure enough, in some of the press things, it said he was Jimmy James in the old days. And he had played with the Isley Brothers as Jimmy James and this, that. And so, oh my God, that's crazy. So when we, in England, fast forward back to when we played the Speakeasy, we were there for 2 or 3 weeks. And he was playing this place called the Savile Theater, which we played the week after he did. We played with the Who there. He played with himself, and I don't know who else opened up for him. And so we're in the Speakeasy. They had a restaurant area. So I see Jimmy in the restaurant area. So I go in there. I say, hey, Jimmy, I look totally different now. You know, I had like English hair, you know, like sort of the way it is now. When I met him before, I had teased up hair. I was like an R&B guy wearing suits and stuff, you know. So I go in there, I'm wearing a red velvet mod jacket, and I'm all mod looking. And,
right.
And he's all flamboyant, you know, Jimi Hendrix with the hair.
Yeah.
So he looked different. I went and said, hey, Jimmy, how you doing? I'm Carmine, how you doing? He goes, oh, no, nice to meet you. Good. He goes, I said, you know, I met you. We used to play together, and I described it. And he remembered the gig. You know, he said, you know, it was Thursday Children. He remembered it because we had a guitar player named Ronnie Lejack, and he was one of the only other guys in New York that played like Hendrix. You know, bending the strings. He had a distortion bar. He built himself a box. He said, yeah, I remember that gig. You had Ronnie. I said, yeah. He said, wow. He said, what are you doing here? I said, well, we're playing here. He goes, well, who are you with? I said, I'm with Vanilla Fudge. He goes, oh, man, I love the Fudge. So I said, wow, that's good to know. So then we struck up a friendship again. And then, you know, we did a load of gigs with him with Vanilla Fudge in 1968 when they re-released Hanging On. Because Atlantic Records screwed up and they made us do this second album, which ruined our career. You know, had we done second album like the first album, we would have gotten as big as the Cream and everybody else. You know, but there's this stupid producer, and Ahmet Ertegun, the president of Atlantic, thought it was the best idea since, you know, sliced bread, you know, and it ruined our career. It was terrible.
Why is that?
Because we didn't know any better.
Oh, okay.
You know, we had Shadow Morton was the producer. He did like Leader of the Pack, and he always did songs that concept. But in our case, he really didn't do anything but get our live stage set on record. That's all he did. He didn't like come in and say, well, I want you to arrange this like this or arrange that. Yeah. The whole first album was us.
Right.
That's what we did. Second album was him. And, you know, the beat thing, it was called The Beat Goes On. It would go down, 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 you know, and we'd talk about, you know, Sieg Heil, Black Power, you know, like one speaker to the other. You know, it was depressing. Then he'd say, all right, I want you to guys start in the 1800s or 1300s and create some music that sounds like 1300s, then 1500s, 1600s, 1800s, 1900s, and 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And we went in and we played all that stuff. We didn't even know what we were doing. And then we'd have us talk, you know, and, you know, Mark was quoting stuff from the Bible. I mean, it was just crazy stuff. The only music on there that we liked was we did Fleur Elise Moonlight Sonata, like Vanilla Fudge. You know, we rockified it. And that was cool.
Yeah.
The rest of it was a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah.
And when we heard the whole thing, me and Tim said with the manager, I don't like this. And Mark and Vinny, they don't say this now, but they liked it at the time because they were all like, you know, smoke and get high. Wow, cool concept with Shadow and Army, you know? And when it came out, like those WOR, all these stations in California would play the whole record.
Oh, no.
And people would listen to it on acid and they start calling in saying, take that off, it's giving us a bum trip. You know, so instead of the album going up, I mean, first album went up to number 4 without having a hit single. It was the very first album to ever do that.
Right.
You know, our single, Hanging On, stopped the first time at number 70, you know. So the album came out with the 20, 33, 15, 10, and then into the top 10, number 4. And the only thing that stopped us was, in front of us was Sgt. Pepper, you know. And this album came out, and on the strength of the first one, it went up to number 15, but then it bummed everybody out so bad it went right down the charts again.
Oh.
So we had, the first album was still on the top 20. So we had to rush in and do a new album quick. So we wrote songs because all these critics were busting our chops that we didn't write songs, even though all the movements we wrote, instrumental movements, was our original music. You know, but they didn't count that because it wasn't a song. Like, you know, the intro to Eleanor Rigby, which is an amazing piece of music, they didn't count that because it was attached to Eleanor Rigby.
Right.
So we went in and wrote albums. The only song that we did from the first album that could make it was Season of the Witch. That went on Renaissance. So Renaissance came out and it did okay. It went up to top 15. Season of the Witch went up to maybe 40 on the charts as a single, and the first album was still there. So Renaissance was there, and that Beat Goes On was like number 80. But we had 3 albums in the top 100 at that point. And then in September of '68, they released Hanging On again. And then that's when it went up to number 4. It brought the first album back to the top 15. Renaissance was in the top 30, right? And that album, the crappy album, was still like 110, you know? And it brought the first album back up to number 15. So we had a top 10 single. We had 2 albums in the top 30, and another album somewhere. We just fell over the 100. So we were hot. And that's when we were on tour with Hendrix. So some nights we blew Jimmy off, according to all the reviews, you know, the live reviews. And it was fun. Yeah, he was a good guy. He was a fun guy. And one thing I'll always remember, when we played San Diego outside in the stadium, in those days, even as big as both of us were, we only played to 25% of the stadium, you know, which was about maybe 15,000 people, you know. And so it was an oval-shaped stadium, so we played to the quarter over here. So we were watching Hendrix, and we had to leave, so I was walking back, all the way back here to the dressing room. So when he was doing Voodoo Child, the wah-wah and the echo was echoing all through the empty seats, right, as we're walking back, and it sounded so haunting and so crazy.
Huh.
And I'll always remember that. It was just so amazing sounding.
Wow.
You know, but we had good times. We hung out with Mitch and Noel. We played the Hollywood Bowl with Jimmy.
Yeah.
And created, when we were on it, created like a riot. There was a fountain in front of the stage, you know, that they used to have. They stopped it now after we played there because all the people started jumping into the fountain. You know, and there's lights in the fountain. You know, they're afraid they're going to get electrocuted. They're all on acid and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so they cut our shows short, and then they put police in the front of the fountain so that nobody could jump in when Jimmy went on. You know, but there was a lot of crazy stuff. All the stuff's in my book. Stick It, My Life is Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll.
Right, right. Now, how did you end up paying for a basically unknown Led Zeppelin to support your band on tour?
Sure. Well, that's a whole nother story. So we're talking Denver. The big promoter in Denver was Barry Fay. Right? So it was the Vanilla Fudge and Spirit was the show. Spirit opened up for us. It's about a 7,000 seat venue. That's what the big venue in Denver was at the time. And it was sold out. So our agent was also Led Zeppelin's agent, you know, and we had known Jimmy Page from the Yardbirds. We played gigs with the Yardbirds when he was in the Yardbirds. And, you know, so we had gotten a Led Zeppelin album beforehand because they wanted Led Zeppelin to open up for us. Now, you got to understand how things used to work back then. We had an attorney that represented Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck Group, the Yardbirds, the Rascals, Vanilla Fudge, Herman's Hermits, a few other people. So it was all like one clique, you know? that's why, through that is why we toured with Hendrix. Through that is why we did gigs with the Yardbirds. So Led Zeppelin came out. He was the rep for Led Zeppelin. So we were going to put them on other dates after Denver, but we heard the new album, the first album, and we were just blown away by them. And we always used to say, who's going to blow us off? Right? Because we blew off Hendrix, The Who, all the Cream, all the big bands of the time. Now, not just us saying, these are the reviews saying it,
Right.
So we said, who's going to blow us off? And guess who was? It was Zeppelin. Not that first day, but eventually. So the promoters talking to the agents, our agents, their agent, their lawyer, same lawyer. So Barry said, look, I don't need Led Zeppelin. He says, I love Jimmy, but I don't need Led Zeppelin. We're sold out. What do I need them for? So Dan says, come on, it's only $1,500, Give Jimmy a break. They need a break with this band. And he kept saying no. So my agent says, without even telling us, tell you what, it's $1,500. You pay $750, and the Fudge will play $750. He said, okay. So he put him on, and we ended up paying him $750. So he took off $750 of our pay, whatever our pay was at the time.
Right.
And gave it to Led Zeppelin.
Wow.
Right? And we never got it back.
Even when they blew up?
Even when they blew up, not even a mention. They probably didn't even know. Because those English bands, they leave everything up to the managers.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know what's going on half the time.
Yeah.
I learned that when I started playing with Jeff Beck and Rod and everything.
Right.
Yeah, they have managers to do their work, dirty work or whatever work it is,
Right,
They
right.
fire somebody, the manager fires it. They don't do it.
Speaking of Led Zeppelin, that Mud Shark story has gone around and around and around, and I know they've been asked about it a million times, and I learned later on that you were actually there.
It was my groupie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what's your version of the Mud Shark story?
Yeah, it's the most disgusting thing that ever happened. I mean, it's horrible. But, basically, the story that you heard is what happened. Except that it was my groupie. I had her, we played the Seattle Pop Festival. We had a couple of days off the day before and the day after, and something like that. And then we would fish out the windows. And that day, the day of the show, I took the chick to the festival in my limo, and we had some goings on in the limo, and then back, and then I sort of got told her I had to go to bed, so she ended up somewhere else in a hotel, I don't know where, and the next day we had a day off before we had to leave. We had to leave to go to Chicago, and everybody was hanging out. So John Bonham and Richie Cole, our roadie's name was Bruce Wayne, Batman,
Wow.
And John Bonham's wife was in there, and they were fishing out the window.
Huh.
At one point, they came into our room. We were in John Paul's room, and it was me, Robert Plant, Tim Bogert, and a couple other people, and we would put the TV on. Before MTV, we used to put the TV on and put music on, and we were listening to Delaney and Bonnie, and smoking some weed and just relaxing, and then,
right.
Then we go in there and we saw that these guys had fish in the bathtub, that they caught. And then there's a knock on the door, and then it's this chick, so we let her in, and she's smoking with us, hanging out. And then next thing we know, they come in with the shark, and they knew she was in there, and they just started attacking her with it, taking her clothes off and going bananas. And and Mark Stein had an 8mm camera, and he was filming it, and it was hysterically funny because it's ridiculous. It was so ridiculous, it was funny.
Yeah.
So everybody started leaving the room. They're out in the hallway. We're laughing. We're like, oh my God, I can't, we're just in shock, And then the manager came down, The manager came down and broke it up, right? So I said to Tim and John Paul. I said, oh, screw this, let's go to my room. So we went to my room. We ordered up some tea and crumpets. A little time passed.
Yeah.
Next thing is a knock at the door. And it's this chick again. And now she's wearing John Paul Jones' robe. Because she said, what are you doing? And he starts cursing. What are you doing, you bloody, you know, what are you doing in my robe? I said, well, I took a shower after all that. And he said, get that off. So now she's sitting on my bed naked. And then there's another knock on the door, and I open the door, and it's the Fish Mirage, you know, the Fish crew again. And now they're going bananas in it, you know. Finally, after all this disgusting things going on, I said to Tim, let's get out of here. I got to get out of this room. And Tim says to me, excuse me, this is your room. I said, oh, good. Well, I'm going in your room. So I took all my suitcases and everything. I left my own room and went to Tim's room. I think he had 2 beds in his room, luckily. And that was the end of that. And then it became this unbelievable story because the next day we left and we ran into Frank Zappa at the airport in Chicago.
Yeah.
And we were friends with Zappa because
Yeah.
he used to open up for us a lot with the mothers, you know. I mean, that's the good thing about those days. Everybody opened up for each other. We all knew each other. Everybody made records. Records came out, got played on the radio. There were different levels of success, but everybody was playing and everybody was friends. It
Right.
wasn't like, you know, vicious like it is today.
Right.
You know? And so I said, oh, man, I'm really fried. He goes, why? I said, wow, it's an unbelievable day. We had a day off, and I told him the story. He said, wow, unbelievable. And then we went on to wherever we were going. I think we were going to Puerto Rico or something for a festival. And a couple of months later, live at the Fillmore East comes out Mothers of Invention, which was their biggest album. And there's a song on it called Mud Shark. I go, Mud Shark! And it tells the story.
Oh,
you know?
man.
And
That's awesome.
created the whole thing all over again. And at the time, I had a girlfriend. She goes, were you involved in that? And I said, oh, no, not me.
Yeah, right. Right.
And then it became legendary. And I remember on
yeah.
VH1 and MTV, shocking moments of rock and roll. It always was like number one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So whose idea was it?
What?
Whose idea was to do that?
It was probably our two tour managers, Richie Cole and Bruce Wayne, and maybe Bonzo. I don't know, but Bonzo had his wife there, so maybe it wasn't his idea. But all I know is they got Mark Stein with the camera to come in, so they must have planned it. You know.
Yeah.
I should ask Mark who asked him to bring the camera in.
Yeah.
And then we got supposedly we bought that film from somebody that said it was the film because Mark had gotten rid of it, and then there was nothing on it, so we paid for the money for it for nothing.
Guys, you are watching Barside Jive with today's guest, Carmine Appice, best known for his work with Vanilla Fudge. Carmine, in 1976, you joined Rod Stewart's band, touring, recording, and co-writing 2 of Rod's biggest hits, Do You Think I'm Sexy and Young Turks. What was it like working with Rod Stewart?
Rod was great. I still love Rod. I'm still friends with him. He wrote the intro to my book. He wrote the foreword, you know, and in it he said, I fired Carmine. Fuck knows why, you know, because we really got along great together, you know, and we had a good time. And he knew that he was the big name, but after his name, I was the name after his name. So he used to do like all the national press when we toured, and he let me do all the local press, like local radio, local newspapers. He would do People Magazine, Rolling Stone, or, you know, like TV shows that were nationwide, you know. And then one time when we went to Japan the first time, I said, you know, Rod, I was always pretty big in Japan. BBA was really big. You know, we were the first rock band to sell out the Budokan since the Beatles, you know, and we were big, and I was always in the top 10 of drummers, top 5 of the drummers in music life over there. So we played Fukuoka the first night, and we did 2 nights there. And when I always did a solo. That was Rod's thing when I came to the band. I said, I want you to do a solo. That way I can go freshen up, change my clothes, redo my hair, and I'll come back looking fresh. I said, cool. He says, I know when I come back, you're going to have the audience riled up. I go, cool. So I did that every night. So when I told him I went to Japan, I said, you know, I'm really big in Japan. So one ear out the other, you know.
Right.
So we're doing the gig in Fukuoka. He leaves, comes back, and he says, Carmine Appice on drum. And the audience was so loud that he couldn't even hear himself saying Carmine Appice on drums. So after the show, he called me upstairs to his suite. I used to call him Howie. Like after Howard Hughes is always in the top suite of a hotel. And
Right.
Howard Hughes wouldn't go out, and Rod couldn't go out because everybody was bothered. So I used to call him Howie and go, why do you call me Howie? I told him. So I went up to see Howie, and he said, wow, I couldn't believe the response you got in your solo. He said, it was awesome. It was unbelievable. I said, I told you I was big here. So he said, you know, when we do the press conference in Tokyo, you sit next to me. You know, this way I'm sure you'll get questions. And he was right. So we did the press conference. I sat next to him. And he was right. And there was always one guy in the band, I won't mention his name, who was so jealous of me. And he's the one that probably got me fired because he used to drink and do drugs with Rod and badmouth me to Rod, you know?
Yeah.
And it's sad because Rod fired the whole band except me, and we started a second band, and I had Rod bring this guy back because he was a guitar player, and I thought, you know, he knew all the changes. I'm the drummer. I didn't know all the changes to the songs. So to avoid these new guitar players listening to the records and listening to live shows, somebody that played the shows would have been easier. So he happened to live in LA, so we brought him back, and he ended up getting me fired. You know.
Wow.
But I love playing with Rod. I love playing with him. I just did a BBC special that's going to be released in December. It's called About the Songs. Every week they have someone else, like Police, Madonna, Metallica, Rod Stewart. And the two songs they're using for Rod Stewart is Young Turks and Do You Think I'm Sexy?
Oh,
So
wow.
They came here to my studio with a camera crew, and we did Zoom with the team in England. They're asking the questions, and we did the interview right here in front of all the gold records and everything.
Wow. Okay.
And
Cool.
it's going to be on. And I played some of the grooves of both songs that they're going to use, and it's going to be on. So this kid that I'm doing this instrumental album with, we just did a rock reggae instrumental version of Do You Think I'm Sexy? All right.
Very
and it's
cool.
really a cool version.
Yeah.
And so I just had it mastered to analog, and I looks like we're getting a deal in the UK with the guy Martin that manages Yes in Asia. He's got his own label, and he loves this stuff, and he's worked with this guitar player that I'm working with. And he's called, when I sent him Sexy, he said, oh my God, it's marvelous. So I said, look, we're going to be on this BBC TV show talking about Sexy. Let's get this single ready. When that thing comes out, let's push that single out.
Right.
You have millions of people watching that show. And it's great timing. You know, timing is everything, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, so we've got a lot of cool stuff going on, as well as we have a 1974 Beck, Bogert, and Appice live record that never came out. And 2 years ago, I mixed it with Jeff Beck's engineer, and there's 7 new songs on there and three songs from the first album. And it looks like we left it to Jeff's manager, so he thinks he's getting close to a deal for it.
Wow. So let
that's
me get
awesome.
this right. Let me get this straight. So after Vanilla Fudge, you and the bassist Bogert, right? You guys formed Cactus.
Right,
and
which was supposed to be with Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart.
Okay.
And then Rod didn't want to work with Jeff because he got fired, you know, and whatever went down.
Yeah.
And that's another story when I got Jeff and Rod back together when I was with him, you know, with Rod. You know, that's a whole other story. All these are in the book. But anyway, yeah, so Jeff got in a car wreck like 2 days before him and Peter Graham were on their way to New York to meet with my manager and Steve Weiss, who was the lawyer.
Right.
Right? The same lawyer, the Jeff Beck group, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, same guy.
Right.
And Jeff got in a car wreck. He always built these hot rods, and he was racing one of them and got in a wreck, put him 18 months out of commission. So me and Tim just broke up Vanilla Fudge to do Cactus. So we couldn't put it back together. So we're going, what are we going to do now? You know? So we put Cactus together without Jeff Beck, with Jim McCarty and Rusty Day.
Yeah.
And then we did that. And then like 2 years into Cactus, we got the word that Jeff still wanted to play with us. So we worked it out. We went on tour. We filled in with Jeff for, I don't know, it was called the Jeff Beck Group. We just went in and filled in. At the same time, we were playing with Cactus. So like we do 2 weeks with Jeff Beck, and then the next 2 weeks we did with Cactus. You know, it was pretty wild in those days. And then we ended up doing the Jeff Beck Group featuring Jeff, Tim, and Carmine. Right? And then we turned it into BBA, into the album. So we gradually built it into it. We didn't want it to be so hyped where people expecting unbelievable, you know, albums, and then they're disappointed no matter what their expectation is, you know?
Right.
So that's how we did it. And it lasted, you know, we had a contract for, you know, I think two albums and 2 world tours. We only did 1 album, 1 world tour. So we were going to release this album in 1974, 75, and then Tim screwed it up. And then, you know, my manager now that manages Cactus, and he's taking care of, he knew the guy that managed Jeff. And he said, what about we get this thing out? And they said, yeah. So they sent the engineer the tapes, and I engineered through the engineering. And back and forth on the internet, I mixed it with Jeff engineered. And then when Jeff heard it, he said, not only is it great playing, but all the playing is humorous. Because we used to goof around in the playing, you know. Tim would do something stupid and Jeff would answer him. It was all spontaneous. Every night was different, you know. And it was, so this record sounds great. And I'm doing a lot of singing on it. Tim's singing. Jeff's playing rock with a Les Paul. It's the last time he used a Les Paul.
Wow.
So it's a unique record.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great to hear.
I hope it comes out.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You don't have a date for that?
No, he's just working. We just got word yesterday that he's working on it. He takes a while, this guy, to get deals, but he gets great deals. So
yeah.
So my manager said, be patient. I said, look, I'm fine. I already put in my head it's not coming out. So if it comes out, I'm ahead of the game.
Yeah, it'd be a total surprise. Yeah. That's awesome.
A lot of good stuff happening.
So tell me about sharing that house with Prince.
Well, all these stories are wild, you know. It's hard to believe that they all happened to me. But I was getting divorced, one of my divorces in LA, and a friend of mine was
one of your
divorces.
divorces?
I've been married 5 times, so that's why my wife, I call her my wife, she's my girlfriend. People say, you guys gonna get married? He's gonna marry him, he'll marry anybody. And she was a radio talk show host in New York, the radio chick. She was big.
Right, I've heard that.
Yeah, and anyway, so we're still together 18 years. So
wow, great. That sounds like a keeper.
Oh yeah, it's a total keeper. And that's why we bought this house down here. We said, this is it. This is the last house we're buying. We're gonna die in this house. I said, okay, with me. I love it here. So anyway, so I was getting divorced, and I had a big house in Los Feliz, California, and it was like I was after playing with Rod, and it was like I played with Rod, and then I started playing I did a Derringer and a Peace record, and I did a Nugent tour, and it was about that time that my friend was with a management company called Cavallo Ruffalo Farnoli. They managed Earth, Wind and Fire, Little Feat, Denise Williams, a whole bunch of people. And they had this new act called Prince. He was called Punk Funk, right? And and this woman, Jamie, had a house, and she was having some problems financially, and she needed some money to pay some bills, you know. So I gave her some money as like a second on the house, and in return, she gave me a room in the house where I could stay, because I was getting divorced, and my ex-wife was in my big house, right? But I had another girlfriend at the time that lived down the block from Jamie's house. So I used to stay at her house mostly. So I just needed a room to put some stuff and the garage to put my Pantera, my Jaguar in, you know.
Right.
So I used her house for that. And I would go back there every once in a while. And then she said, look, do you mind if this young artist we have named Prince, he sometimes comes to LA, he hates hotels, he's very shy, and I let him stay in the house in that room. Is that cool? I said, yeah, that's fine, no problem. So that's it. So he used to stay in my room when he came to LA, and I would come home from my girlfriend's house at the time, and I'd walk in there, and he'd be listening to something. Hey, Prince, what's up, dude? You know, I'm like New York Energy, and hey, what's that? Is that your track? He goes, yep. That's it. Wow, pretty cool. Who's playing on it? Me. You playing everything? Yes. You know, that's when I first started knowing him. And then, you know, I got to know him a little more. He opened up a little more.
Yeah.
You know, and then he we got to be friends. One time he needed a ride to Hollywood because he didn't want to rent cars. He always wanted somebody to drive it. So I took him for a ride in my Pantera, and it scared the shit out of him. I have to say. You know, and one time he played at the Rose Bowl when, you know, coming up with the Rolling Stones, and they booed him off the stage, and he came back to the house. He was all bummed out. Me and Jamie sat down with him. We had a cup of tea and a cup of coffee or whatever. And I said, hey, dude, don't worry about it, man. I mean, Vanilla Fudge got booed off the stage when Mamas and the Papas the first time. It didn't hurt our career. We got big. We had hit records, gold records, everything.
Right.
Don't let it bother you. You know, I said, you know, once you get a hit record, everybody forgets.
Yeah.
You know, sure enough, then he started getting bigger and bigger, and he was still in there. He just about was there when he did 1999, and then he invited me to see him. Now he's headlining Universal, and this is a shy guy, you know.
Yeah.
And I go watch him on stage. I go backstage, say hi to him. He gave me a hug. He was really friendly. And I'm watching him on stage. He comes out in women's underwear, you know, and lace, you know, stockings. And he's in the mattress on stage. He's on the stage, and he's like humping the stage. And I'm sitting with Jamie and my girlfriend at the time. I said, is this the same guy that lived in the house? This is like unbelievable. He's like so, you know, outgoing on stage, an extrovert even, versus an introvert in real life. He goes, yeah,
right.
That's him. And
wow.
And we became friends. And then some of the drummers that played with him, you know, friends of mine, I told them,
yeah,
hey, dude, say hi to Prince. And they come back. I see him again. I go, hey, Prince says hi back to you. I said, oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? But I got out of the circle of hanging out with him because he moved to Minneapolis. And,
yeah.
You know, I didn't go to Minneapolis very often.
It's almost like getting booed off stage is kind of a rite of passage, right? It's like,
yeah,
you got to get booed off stage to make it.
Yep. Yep. You're right.
You know, I hear you're really good friends with Sharon Osbourne.
Oh, yeah. I haven't talked to her since 1984 when she fired me. And I talked to Ozzy a few times. And when she was around, she sent the security guard over to get him away from me.
Why does she have such a problem with you?
Suspicious. I don't know. I mean, when we did the deal with her, we had a deal where I was, you know, I had merchandise on the tour, and I was able to do master classes in my contract, you know.
Yeah. And
she didn't like it because I was getting a lot of press, and she just didn't like it. I mean, when I was promoting my book, Carol did all my press, and we did a really big, I think it was Huffington Post or one of these things, and my headline was Carmine Appice, Sharon Osbourne. This guy is here. Hold on. Okay. Sharon Osbourne is the most vicious woman in rock and roll. All right.
Oh,
I'm gonna walk outside. My roadie is here. I'm gonna just wave him to.
You need to go.
Yeah, I need to go. Yeah, but we can finish if you can finish up.
Well, we can finish up, and we can do a part 2 someday if you want.
Well, we can do a part 2. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I'm sitting here in my car.
Oh,
I'm in my car now.
we can. We'll do a part 2.
Yeah, let's do a part 2.
Carmine, we sure appreciate you doing this today. We look forward to maybe a part 2 in the near future.
Okay, dude. That sounds good, man.
Thanks, Carmine. we're back. Bye, Carmine. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed my chat with the legendary Carmine Appice. If you'd like to see more of my chat with Carmine, just go to my YouTube channel by searching Barside Jive Live, and you will find more in the Barside Jive Rock and Roll Files playlist. And don't forget to click subscribe and then click that little bell. And now a word from Disclaimer Don.
Barside Jive shall not be responsible for any incorrect or inaccurate information caused by this broadcast. Barside Jive does assume, however, all responsibility for the satirical nature of its content and for the occasional fictional nature of its content. All characters appearing in this broadcast, even those based on real people, except for our featured guests, of course, are entirely fictional, and any resemblance between them and any persons living dead or undead is purely a miracle.
And thanks to Tony for all the hard work he does behind the scenes to make this show possible. Thanks, Tony. And thanks to AJ and the staff at AJ's on Main for hosting this show. Guys, it's that time. Get your tissue out because we're done. We are like out of here. Thanks again for hanging out with us this afternoon. We do appreciate your support of what we're doing here and hope that you'll share us with your family, your friends, your followers. And until next time, be kind to one another. Peace, love, and rock and roll, guys.
BarsideJive.com. What's your name? What? What is your name? Tony. Fuck you, Tony. What's your name? Ezekiel. Fuck you, Ezekiel. Fuck you. Fuck you.